Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure I can do better than Senator Cotton, and I'll try not to repeat what he just said. Even a cursory examination of Mr. Kasubhai's record and his testimony before this committee, I think demonstrates to most fair-minded Americans that he is from the loon wing of the American bar. Now, that is his right as an American. You're not free if you can't express yourself. You're not free if you can't say what's on your mind.
Hey, friends and fellow defenders of liberty. Welcome back to the Constitution Corner, where we believe in the rule of law, the Constitution as written, and the God-given rights of the American people. If you love this country, if you believe in free speech, religious liberty, and the right to think and speak freely without state coercion, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, and tap that notification bell so you never miss an update. We are the firewall against the radical left, and we're just getting started.
But it is clear to me, based once again on an examination of his record and his testimony, that Mr. Kasubhai is not qualified to be a federal judge because of his partiality. And I believe that his decisions will be filtered through his own political, social, and economic beliefs. Senator Cotton was very eloquent in giving you some specific examples. I want to give you one more. Mr. Kasubhai is a magistrate. He issued an order, not an oral directive, but an order to all employees in his court, to all witnesses in his court, and to all lawyers in his court, that they address the court in a specific way and that they include their preference for pronouns, which, as we all know, is a reflection of one's thoughts about gender. This is a copy of the order. I think everyone has a copy. This is what his written order directs, for example, to his criminal docket clerk. Quote, I'm quoting the order, not the suggestion, the order. Before calling the first case, give the general instruction, quote within quote, I'd like counsel to introduce themselves, giving me your full name and your honorific, such as Ms., Mix, or Mr. Not Mrs., not Miss. And if your client will be making an appearance, I ask you to please introduce them to the court by giving me their full name and their honorific, such as Ms., Mix, or Mr. Mr. Kasubhai says this is voluntary. That's not true, and he knows it. He intentionally misled this committee. He uses directives like, please be sure to give the honorific. You can read the document for yourself. I would feel the same way if Mr. Kasubhai directed everyone in his court, and frankly, I could see him doing it, to stand up and give me your name and tell me about your race. I would feel the same way if Mr. Kasubhai issued a directive to tell everyone in his courtroom, you have to give your name and your religion. And you have to give me your feelings about Israel. And you have to give me your details about your ethnicity. And you have to give me details about your sexuality. All of the things that bring the issue of partiality to the forefront, Mr. President. I'm appalled that President Biden nominated this gentleman. Now, again, when I asked Mr. Kasubhai in committee, he said, oh, this is voluntary. Well, it's not. Here's the document. You can read it for yourself. And if he's confirmed, there'll probably be more directives about how litigants and their lawyers and his court personnel have to address the court. But imagine, let's assume it is voluntary. Imagine you're a litigant whose property or liberty is at stake. And the man in front of you who is going to decide your fate tells you that he wants you to give your personal pronouns. And you don't want to do that. You'd rather not participate in that. You don't mind if others do it, but you personally don't want to do it. You've got to make a decision. Do I stick with my beliefs, or do I try to curry favor with this judge who's going to decide my freedom or make a decision about my freedom or my property? That is the classic definition of bias. And that, Mr. Chairman, will be why I'll be voting no on Mr. Kasubhai. I want to emphasize again, I'm not criticizing his beliefs. He's entitled to those beliefs. If you want to be a member of the loon wing of the Bar Association, that is your right as an American. But it doesn't give you the right to bring that bias to the federal bench. Thank you for the time, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator.
Now, let's talk about a moment that honestly should have every freedom-loving American raising their eyebrows. Senator John Kennedy's blistering takedown of Biden's judicial nominee, Mr. Kasubhai. If you haven't seen the clip, buckle up. Today we're diving deep into what this means for our courts, our freedoms, and the direction of this country. What we just heard is not just about one judge. It's about a fundamental shift in the American legal system, away from neutrality and due process, toward ideological enforcement. And Senator Kennedy? He nailed it. Let's break this down. Mr. Kasubhai, a magistrate judge, issued an order, not a polite request, not a guideline, but a written order demanding that every single lawyer, witness, and employee in his courtroom state their honorific and preferred pronouns. Let me be crystal clear. This isn't about basic courtesy or treating people with respect. This is about compelled speech, and that's dangerous. The government, through this judge, is telling you what to say and how to say it. That should send a chill down every American's spine regardless of party. Senator Kennedy said it best. Imagine you're on trial, your freedom, your property, your future is on the line, and the judge says, tell me your pronouns. And if you don't, what happens? You risk offending the very man who's going to decide your fate. That's not justice. That's not neutrality. That's not America. Now Mr. Kasubhai says, oh, it's voluntary. But Kennedy reads the order, and guess what? It's full of mandatory language, phrases like, please be sure to include, I ask you to, give me. That's not voluntary. That's a power play. It's bureaucratic coercion masquerading as inclusivity. Let's be honest, this isn't about pronouns. It's about enforcing a progressive worldview under the guise of respect. What happens when judges start requiring people to state their race, their religion, their sexual orientation before they can be heard in court? That's not hypothetical. Kennedy pointed it out. And if you think that's far-fetched, you haven't been paying attention. Here's the deeper issue. Our courts are supposed to be the last neutral ground in America. Lady Justice wears a blindfold for a reason. But what the Biden administration is doing is stacking the courts with activists who believe that law should reflect ideology rather than the Constitution. And make no mistake, President Biden knew what he was doing when he nominated Mr. Kasubhai. He's packing the bench with people who will force Americans to comply with social dogmas, whether it's pronouns, ESG, DI, or anything else from the woke handbook. This is about power, folks. Pure and simple. Senator Kennedy is being called all kinds of names for standing up to this, but you know what? He's doing his job. He's standing between radicalism and the American people. He's standing up for the First Amendment, The right to speak freely and to not be compelled to say things you don't believe. That's real courage in today's political climate. So what can we do? First, we have to pay attention. This isn't just a Washington issue. These are the judges who will be deciding our religious liberty cases, our Second Amendment rights, our freedom of speech, and more. Second, we must vote. Every election matters. Because the people we elect pick the judges who interpret the law. Third, we must speak up. Tell your neighbors. Share this video. Write your senators. Get loud. This isn't about hate. This isn't about bigotry. It's about freedom. And if we surrender that now, we won't get it back. Thanks for tuning in to the Constitution Corner. If you believe in liberty, law, and the right to live your life without government-mandated ideology, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this with every patriot you know. Until next time, keep your powder dry, keep your mind sharp, and always stand for the Constitution. We are the Constitution Corner, where Americans' root guides its future. Until next time, stand strong, speak truth, and may God bless the United States of America.